99 days, 8,000 kilometers, and zero experience. Skyler and Mario cycled all the way across Canada to raise money for Alzheimer's research and awareness. I sit down with them at the end of their journey to find out what it's like to traverse the second largest country in the world. Perfect. All right, so I'm here with Skyler and Mario. Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
It's incredible. Why aren't you more excited?
We got all of our excitement out yesterday when we touched the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You went out to Middle Cove, right?
Yeah, Middle Cove Beach. We just stuck our feet in the water. We took our front tires off the bikes because we didn't want to roll them through the sand. So we just, got the tires onto the water and said, wow, this is really cold.
And really rocky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some people suggested we go there to finish, and I was kind of expecting like a sandy beach, but yeah, it was just rocks. And so we took our shoes off, and it's like, this is not as comfortable as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, you're hard pressed to find a sandy beach in Newfoundland. Like there are some around, but what you saw at Middle Cove is pretty typical of a Newfoundland beach.
Yeah, well, we when we were coming up out of Port aux Basques, there was some when we got the ferry, we took the midnight ferry, and then we didn't sleep very much, and we had just done 140K the day before, so we were running off of 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and so we just spent a couple hours at the beach, 10K or 15K north of Port aux Basques.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a nice sandy beach. We should have ended there, Mario. We should have taken the Argentia ferry.
I mean, it was already a really slow day.
That's true.
So, what was the whole genesis of this trip?
Do you want to tell it, Mario? How did it come to be?
How did it come to be? I believe it was your idea originally, and then you so smugly bet me $20 that I could not do it as well. So
you're looking to cash in on a bet.
Yep.
Well, he did.
I did.
At the beach yesterday.
I cycled all the way across Canada, so I earned that money.
Yeah, at the beach I gave him $20, 20 Canadian dollars. Hardest $20 he ever earned.
I'd say, yeah.
And the least worth it. I spent $20 on food in a day and a half or something.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you overall? Where'd you leave from? What was the exact point you left from?
We left from mile 0 in Victoria.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a Terry Fox memorial there. And we actually kind of started there, but then we also went down to the water and I stuck my feet in on the Pacific Ocean. Then we, rode from right there.
Yeah.
And 99 days.
Okay.
Officially, April 22nd to July 30th.
Okay. Had you planned a certain amount of time, or were you just going with the flow, or?
Yeah, so when we were in the planning stages, what we kind of did was we just, picked all the major cities we wanted to hit, put it in on Google Maps, and just said, oh, it's, 8,000 kilometers roughly, or 8,200, something like that. And then we were like, okay, well, if we, just do 80 kilometers a day, we'll be done in 100 days, or, roughly that. And so that's basically what we did, 99 days. And so we were kind of aiming for either 99 or 100, just because they're both pretty nice numbers.
Yeah.
97 days or whatever. That's a weird number.
Yeah.
And then the 99 also ties in to my grandfather. So part of why we're doing this is to raise money for Alzheimer's research. And, for me, the main reason is because my grandfather passed away in January of this year, and he had Alzheimer's. And he lived to be 99. I figured 99 days, 99 years, like that, just feels good, right?
Ties it all together nicely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So were you taking donations along the way, or can people contribute online? Or?
Yeah. So I on my blog there is a link to the Canada Helps page, and so people were just donating online. People we met along the way would sometimes give in-person donations, but we kind of tried to steer them towards the website just because then that just goes directly to the Alzheimer's Society of Canada.
Okay.
And then I have to like write a check or something with all the cash donations I've been given. I still got to contact them and figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
what's your blog if someone wants to help out?
So it's skylertravels.reddit.com. So SKYLER.
Okay. Just like a thread on Reddit.
Yeah, or like it's its own subreddit.
Okay.
And so each day I try to make a blog post just about what we did during the day. So some days are a little bit boring, like, oh yeah, we cycled this much and this. But then other days, like we managed to fit in a lot. And then there's just kind of some links to Instagram as well for a lot of the photos that we've taken. Yeah.
Awesome. So what were some of those days? Like you said, some days were not so much and some were others. What were some of the highlights?
Highlights of the trip?
Maybe it'll be easier to go per province or something, because obviously it was a massive trip.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say BC, for example. First starting off, what was that like the first 24 hours?
Oh boy, that was a hard day. The first day, because we didn't do like a lot of preparations for this physical training.
When he says we didn't do a lot, what he means is we didn't do any. We did like 0. Like we got the bikes, and so the only distance we put on the bikes before the trip was like riding home from the bike shop.
Really?
Like that's about it.
So what made you think you could do it?
Well, we were just kind of like,
what was our motto? We'll go slow and then
faster. We'll train on the trip.
And it sounds really stupid, but here we
somehow
are.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we had 0 training. Like neither of us really ride bikes in our like day-to-day lives. But we're like, oh, I'm sure with just like a little, motivation and, mental strength of will, we can do it.
Yeah.
And somehow it worked.
Apparently it worked. This guy was working for $20 the whole time.
Yeah.
So like that first, you leave and there's like, you're so excited. At what point in the first day does the novelty start to wear off?
I think it was probably first uphill. And because it's, Vancouver Island, which that was like the first 2 minutes. Like I think we got past the Victoria Legislature and then bam, we're at uphill. It's like, okay, Mario, let's just give up now.
Yeah. And the legislator's not much further from 0.0, is it?
No. Like, and I think it's mostly downhill from 0.0 to the legislature. Like it's and then once you pass the legislature, you kind of get off the water, and it's uphill.
Yeah. So what was it like hitting like the Rockies? I'd imagine that was one of the most challenging points,
especially for close to the beginning of the trip.
Yeah. Well, I think
was your training up to par by the time you got to the Rockies?
So I think that for us, like in terms of how difficult it was, I think the coastal mountains, which were like the first real mountains we hit, leaving like Abbotsford, I think those were harder, partly because it was raining, but also because we had like very little experience with uphill. And so, we were doing like 40 or 50 kilometers a day through the mountains, and there was like rain, and it was cold, and it wasn't great. We had a hard time with that. And then as soon as we got out of the cold, rainy mountains, we got into like the dry, hot desert of like Kamloops area, which... To our surprise, we found out that Canada does have deserts, or at least has one.
Yeah.
That was not... Mario got sunburnt, so that's how hot it was.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I remember the first time I went to Kamloops and someone was like, "Oh, this is classified as a desert," and then you see like the tumbleweeds and stuff, and you're like, "Oh, wow, it is. Yeah, it really is." Um, so did you have like any major mechanical failures?
Nothing major. What we did have a lot of flat tires. So I think I had about 8.
One per
throughout the
1,000 kilometers.
Yeah, roughly that. And then I had a bunch of broken spokes.
Okay.
And then I also had one of my tires, so not the tubes, but the tire itself. On kind of like the siding of it, there was like a tear, and so that gave me some trouble. But other than those things, like nothing like the bike didn't split in half. Like there was no like the chain didn't break on us, nothing like that. So
Yeah.
I think we made it out okay.
Did you have extra supplies on hand for those occasions, or?
Yeah, so we had a patch kit, and we also had extra tubes for the most part. And when we got broken spokes, like usually you can kind of ride on one or two for a while, and so that's generally what we did. And then yeah, I think that's it. And then in the next major town or the next place we'd have a bike shop. We could
Okay.
get it repaired, or sometimes we did it ourselves. Sometimes we, paid for that. But
Yeah.
We learned to do a lot of the basic repairs, but with stuff like the spokes, you need like certain tools that we don't carry.
Yeah.
Because we know how to change tires and like fix what's like your brakes that were weird sometimes.
oh yeah,
Or
like
the handlebars getting out of alignment. That
yeah,
used to happen a lot more when we started.
and
So
your
that's all.
seat gave you some trouble.
Yeah, my
But
seat.
a lot of it's just like little adjustments with the multi-tool. And so like it's, just a 5-10 minutes of tinkering, and you can kind of get it working and
Yeah.
get back on the road. So the flat tires were usually the things that delayed us a lot. Just especially if it's a back tire, because we'd have to take off our gear
Okay.
sometimes and move stuff so we could get our access to the tires and then patch it and pump it up and yeah.
So what does one bring for a cross Canada trip? What was in your gear?
So we had kind of the basic camping gear, so tent, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, clothes, a little bit of warm weather or cold weather gear, because we were starting in kind of late April and going through the Rockies. So in some of the mountain ranges we went through, like there was still snow on the ground.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we did have some cold weather gear. But then other things like I always carry a pocket knife around with me. Like it's just, one of those handy things. What else did we have?
Food.
Food, yeah. Yeah, we weren't always close by like a McDonald's or anything, so we did carry usually a couple days worth of food. A lot of it kind of was just like tortillas, tuna, peanut butter, honey, we would kind of mix and match some of it, although usually the tuna just sort of stayed by itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just sort of subsisted off of that, granola bars, and then like fast food burgers.
On the side of the highway.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also we were in people's houses a lot, and so we met a lot of really kind people who would, sometimes feed us, and that was always fantastic.
Were you using Couchsurfing, or were you just meeting people?
So a lot of it was Couchsurfing and warm showers. And warm showers is kind of like Couchsurfing, but for cyclists. And then sometimes we would just sort of meet people along the way. Or one time we knocked on someone's door. They were right next to a church, and it was the pastor of the church. And then he was like, oh, we asked to camp outside, and he's like, well, we would let you stay inside, but we're moving in a couple weeks. But then they're like, oh, wait, we could just call someone. And so we ended up staying with a member of the church that lived like a kilometer down the road. And we ended up having like our own bedrooms, and we got to take a shower, and they fed us. It was like the most, like sincere act of kindness, and like just, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long did you go without a shower? What was the longest period?
It's probably sometime in Ontario, like maybe between Nipigon and Sault Ste. Marie. I'm not sure that we showered in between there. So it's, 6 days?
Yeah.
5-6 days?
Yeah, that sounds right.
It must get pretty gnarly when you're biking.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I think we kept far enough apart that we didn't actively smell each other.
Depends on which way the wind is moving.
Yeah.
So, did you find yourself camping a lot, or?
Yeah, probably half the time, maybe a bit less. Or somewhere between like a third and half. We were camping, and then the other portion was, indoors.
Yeah. Where would you camp?
Oh, just about everywhere. Sometimes we'd just be like right off the road. Other times we would just pay for campgrounds. We camped beside churches a few nights. People's backyards.
Rest stops.
Rest stops, yeah, even though you're not really supposed to. Usually they don't really mind if you're on a bicycle. So I think we didn't really run into any trouble with people like, get off my lawn, anything like that.
Did you meet any other cyclists on big journeys, or?
Yeah, so Thunder Bay?
Thunder Bay?
Or another time?
I mean, we've had loads of times meeting people traveling across the country. That's
true.
I started making a list because we started meeting so many people that were just traveling across the country.
Yeah, I met some people on.
But obviously, the biggest
journeys
of those was Thunder Bay. That was Thunder Bay was an experience just because we failed to get out of Thunder Bay like twice. I think it was the third day that we were in Thunder Bay that we met these 5 guys who were also cycling across Canada. And they had just they weren't a group that started together. They were 3 groups, I believe, like 2 of 2 and 1 of 1, and they just sort of met each other along the way, biking across Canada. And then when we met them, we joined for like a day, and then because they were planning to spend a day in Thunder Bay, because they had just gotten there and we had been there for 2 days trying to leave, so we sort of split off from them.
Yeah, but for like one night, it was 7 of us cycling across Canada, and then we split off again. It would have been cool if we could like stick with them for longer because they were a bunch of really cool guys.
Yeah.
And then we met a guy who was walking. I think it was Waka Top America or something like that. So he was mostly walking like in the northern bits of the U.S., but then he came into Canada.
Okay.
For a little portion of the walk.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. It's like the first time really meeting someone else who had walked across America. And so I was like, yes, this is awesome. So I was really happy about that.
Had you walked across America before?
Yes. Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? Always forget to tell people that.
Yeah. So that was last year, or like 2016 to 2017, because it took like 11 months.
Yeah.
And then now I've biked across Canada, and I can officially say that because like sometimes I've talked about how I've cycled across Canada like on the bike trip, but it's like no, I'm only 2/3 of the way done. I don't have that claim yet.
Yeah.
But as of yesterday, I do.
That's amazing. I know that feeling somewhat because I've taken like the train from Vancouver to Toronto and then like the bus from Toronto to here, but I've always wanted to do one of them all the way across. and I still feel like I can't say I've done it fully yet.
Oh.
But I sound like a wimp saying that in front of you guys on your bikes. Like,
Well, this is like, we're not doing this again, or at least I'm not.
Cycling
Mario?
across Canada again.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't done the territories.
Oh my goodness.
Not
I'm
into
not
that.
doing that.
I smell another bet in the air.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and he had bet me $20 I couldn't walk across America. And
Oh, is that
this,
what it was?
Yeah, this cycling trip was a little bit of a continuation of that. And so now that Mario has the $20 back, it's up to him to decide if he wants to continue this ridiculous and tormentative series of bets, or if he wants to just let bygones be bygones and let it rest.
Just keep my money.
Yeah, you could keep your money. Just think about how good that would be. Don't bet me anything.
I think you guys could call it even at this point.
Yeah, I think we could. What are you thinking, Mario?
No, I guess we'll see.
Oh goodness.
So I should go back to the America thing for a second.
Oh yeah.
Like what caused that to happen? Why did you go from the east to the west or west to the east?
Yeah. So I started near Toronto. I went all the way south to Louisiana,
Okay.
and then I walked across Texas and New Mexico, and then up all through Utah to Seattle, Washington, and then I walked down to San Francisco.
So
and-
you went down, over, up, down.
Yeah, like I basically formed like a giant N
Yeah.
over the United States.
Just because you wanted to, or
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
was that one for like to raise charity or anything, or just like a personal thing?
No, that was mainly a personal thing.
And you walked the whole way on your feet.
Yeah, I wore out 8 pairs of shoes, if that
8
gives you an
pairs?
idea. Yeah.
Holy crap! 8 pairs of shoes, 8 tires. That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
So I want to get some more of Mario's perspective on the bike trip. So, like, what did you learn about this guy that you didn't know before?
What did I learn about Skyler?
And what do you regret most?
Oh, geez. Well, I learned a lot of your catalog of songs that you like to sing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I used to do a lot of hiking with the Scouts when I lived in California. And so, yeah, there's lots of songs and stuff that we would sing. And so I got to regale Mario with some of them.
Just singing at me.
Yeah, not singing to him. I was singing at him.
What did you learn about Mario?
Honestly, I wasn't entirely sure at the beginning if Mario would finish. Like I kind of expected something to go wrong, or maybe like even I'm not sure if expected, but I was prepared for the possibility of it. Or like, maybe like we wouldn't get along, or like we'd butt heads or something like that. But I was just like, as I was going, and there was times where I'm like, oh my God, I just want to quit. Like, when will this hill end? Things like that. Mario kept on going, and so that helped me, keep going myself. And yeah, like if he hadn't have done that, like I was completely shocked that he was able to do it. Not because I have low expectations of him, but just because like, it's an uncommon thing for most people to do.
Yeah.
Because like it's not a thing that most people encounter, and so it's really hard to know whether people can do it. And I wasn't entirely sure if Mario could. I wasn't entirely sure if I could. But then as we went along, and it's like, it started off as a week, and then it was 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 99 days. And Mario kept on going because he wanted $20.
Was there ever a point where you were sort of looking at the schedule and thinking you were falling behind, or?
I feel like that happened pretty early in the beginning because we were going so slowly. we did like 50 kilometers or something on the first day, and then we took the second day off because A, we were so tired, and B, you had a flat tire that you took forever to fix.
Yeah, like I just could not get the tire on. And like that became a reoccurring problem like in the beginning. Like we had these tires are Schwalbe marathons, and like among cycle tourists like they're some of the best tires there are and like all that. But they're a really big pain to get onto the actual wheel. And like once you get the tube in, like the last like 6 inches of it like just doesn't want to go in. And so for a while, and so I had this problem, Mario had this problem, and eventually we were able to do it ourselves, but sometimes we'd have to go into bike shops like, hey, we did almost all of this tire. Would you just do like the last 6 inches? And then, the bike shop person would be like, doop, and then it'd be done in less than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So on those, it was a little embarrassing.
On those days where you did have setbacks and you felt like you were losing ground, how did you just naturally make it up over time in like the prairies or something? Or?
Yeah. Pretty much as soon as we crossed the Rockies, like we just started doing, like I remember up until the Rockies, like we hadn't done more than about 80 kilometers in a day. And most of the time we were in like the 60, 70 range. And then on the day we left the Rockies, we did over 100 kilometers. And from then on for like the rest of the prairies, like we were doing 100 kilometers a day, 120, 130. And what was our top day?
It was 150.
Yeah. So we managed to just like make up that ground, in the prairies mostly. And then we kind of, because we were doing so much in the prairies, we're like, hey, we can do this much in Ontario or like in the Canadian Shield where it's just up and down and really hilly and exhausting. But somehow we kind of stayed usually over 100K a day.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So do you think you would do it again? I mean, bets are on. It seems like bets are brewing for the next thing. Like,
oh goodness, don't say that. Don't give them ideas.
Do you guys have jobs? What do you do for money?
Back home, I work at a grocery store. Save up some money and do that. And Mario's.
I'm in school. I'm in college studying. So it's basically the opposite of a job because I'm just losing money.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be going to university likely next year.
Okay.
So
that's awesome. Just wanted to walk across the nation one way and then go back the other way, go back to school or go to school.
Yeah.
That's great, guys. What would you say to anyone who's thinking about doing some massive adventure?
Do it. Like, go for it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think about doing it and they're like, and I've met a lot of people, both on my walk and even some people on this bike trip who are like, or older people, and they're like, I wish I had done something like that when I was younger. Or like some people are still in the planning stages of it and they're like, oh, I just need to wait for everything to fall into place. And a lot of times, like, it doesn't fall into place, and it's just like a continuous, not this year, but maybe a couple years from now, I can do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, for some people, it just doesn't seem to pan out, and I think it takes a lot of work to get your life into a position where you can do it, and then starting is, like, always, that's the big thing. And, like, for me, on both trips, like, I was so nervous, like, in the week leading up to it, and then like the day before, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so unprepared. How am I going to do this? I should just put it off. But then kind of once we started, I was good. And did you feel the same way, Mario?
I was pretty anxious about it before we started. The thing is, I figured that if we could get the ball rolling, then there wouldn't have been a problem. But my biggest worry was we're just going to start and we're just not going to be able to get the ball rolling. We're not going to be able to do nearly as much as we're hoping to. It's not going to work out. But once the first few days went by, I figured we actually stand a much better chance of doing this than I thought.
Yeah. And like on major trips and stuff, and like when you're going for a long distance, it's kind of once you have a few days down, you just are like, okay, I only need to focus on today. And I already did, yesterday and the last couple days, so I can do one more day. And then, you eventually get it done. And then the next day, it's the same thing. Like, I just have to do today. And I think some people are, they think of it as like a really daunting task. Like, they're like, you cycled across Canada, 8,000 kilometers, 99 days. How'd you do it? And I think to me, and I shouldn't speak for Mario, but it was kind of like, I didn't do 8,000 kilometers over 99 days. I just did like a day here and then another day and another day and another day. And I was only focused on those days and maybe up to a week in advance and not really beyond there. When I was in, Alberta, I wasn't focused on St. John's. I was focused on Edmonton. Or I was focused on, getting to Saskatoon, right? It was just, here's, the next major city, and that's what I'm focusing on. And it makes it a lot more manageable. And, so, break it up into a few day segments, and life becomes easy. I think, you can apply that to general life, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for talking with me, and enjoy your time at St. John's.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. For any and all past episodes, be sure to search Curious Jord on your favorite podcasting app. You can also find me on any of those time-consuming and soul-sucking social media platforms by searching Curious Jord Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. Cheers.